Welcome back, my faithful followers. This is actually just a video in Maya. It could be Maya 2012, 13, 14, etc. years to come. The interface is still the same. This is actually going to be a tutorial on how the interface of Autodesk Maya. Now, as you see, I have right here the complete program open up here. Left-hand side, you have your arrow keys, your move, your scale, your rotate, and down here, we're not going to get into this until further on. But what I'm actually going to go through is actually what we call the top bar, which is the option bar. Okay, so we got file, which is basically in every program that you have, your export, import, save, etc., etc., etc. Now, when you need to bring in stuff, you just do import, export stuff, same exact thing. Edit, this is where you can like undo, redo, copy, paste, etc. And delete by face, delete by history. I'll go into more detail about that later. We got modify. This is where you can do when you're doing animation. You can freeze, transform, center pivot the vertical points or the vertices, stuff like that, etc. You can go to create. We got the NURBS, which is one form of a shape or polygon. And then we got the polygons, which is basically points. NURBS is shapes, polygons are points. Okay, so it's like the more faces that a polygon has, the better the outcome it is. With NURBS, the more points like the more points of a shape it has, it's better off that way. You can create your lights, your cameras. You have CV curve tool and the EB curve tool. The difference between this one, EB curve tool is where you can actually draw on a actual face. CV is where you actually have to draw on the grid right here and pretty much plane it there. You can do text, like create 3D text. You can do construction planning like this stuff. I'll get more detail on that later. The display, more or less, it's comical stuff or comments and stuff where you have like the whole like status line here, option bar, render lines, etc. So whatever you see up here is exactly what's going to be in the display options. Window, this is where everything's going to be at, where you can find everything, like your general editors, your render editors, animation, relations, so on and so forth. And you're going I'll go into detail more of what you'll be using and what you won't be using. Assets, pretty much it's common sense what this is, but we really don't touch this unless you're going into like really high publishing parts of it all. Lighting and shading, we actually don't touch this just yet because we're actually going to manipulate the actual nodes itself. Texturing, if you want to bring in like your PSD works like Photoshop or other things, you can bring that in by using this button or going into the hyper shader, which I will go into more detail later. Render. Pretty much we don't touch this tab because this tab is in the render settings, which is right here. This is where everything's going to be going through. Yet again, I'll explain that later. Tune. We don't touch any of these as far as I know as of yet, but I'll go into more details when we get time to do it. So this is the basic interface with the panels. I mean, you can go from, if you have a camera, you can go from your perspective view or a camera view or how many cameras you actually have, that's where you would do it. If you want to do like a different like layout of what your screen's actually going to be looking at, you can do a single pan, you can do two panels side by side, you can do two panels stacked, you can do three panels split up top right there. But majority of the time, you're only going to be using either a single pan or two panning side by side. The reason why I say this is because this could be your camera view and this can be your perspective view. So whatever you do in the perspective, it actually alters the camera view. So sometimes, like rule of thumb, we never touch whatever's in the camera view because the camera is where you want the pinnacle point of your project. Perspective view is what we always use to manipulate and use. Now, renders, you can use Render 2.0 high quality, but typically we just stick with the default because that's what we're going to be viewing as. But when we actually render, that's when we go into here and that's when we change everything up. All right. As far as of right now, that is basically my first tutorial, and I hope you guys enjoy, and I'm more to come in the future. Thank you.